Welcome to Practical Talk Time. I'm your host Usha Kumar. Today is the third part of our series on kinesiology. I have with me here as guests Bruce Zboray and Matt Kay. In the last two parts, they described what kinesiology is, how they got into this field, and they tried to explain and demonstrate how it works. So please join me in welcoming Bruce and Matt. Today they're going to talk about their books. Hello.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
It's such a pleasure to have you here, and it's been very exciting for me to be exploring this very, very strange and new kind of topic. Although I think I was exposed to it in a small way when I was a little girl, when we used to tie pendulums, like with a stone and then a piece of string, and then we'll hold it over the palm. Have you ever done that experiment? Yes?
Something like that, yes.
So when you think about something, an event, if it's a good event, it'll go, nice and round. It'll start swinging around. And then if it's like good event, so it'll go straight back and forth. And then if it was something bad, or if it's a future event, if something bad is going to happen, it'll go haphazardly. And just from that stone, we could tell how that event would be for us individually, or even by itself. But I never knew what it was. I thought it was all just a little game, and forgot all about it.
Some kind of magic.
Yes, some kind of magic. Oh my God, I just keep holding my palm up, I'm able to move the stone with my thought. But the thing is, what you're saying, what I heard in the last two half-hour programs that we discussed this subject, is that kind of energy is still there, and that's the kind of energy that's there in us outside, and we need to strengthen ourselves and not weaken ourselves with the kind of energy that we allow and the thoughts that we allow into our lives. So this time I do want to know more about your subject and the books that you've written. So who wants to go first on the books?
Well, we wrote a book called Waking Moments.
Okay.
It's a guide to everyday spiritual experiences. And we got together and wanted to share some of this subject matter with other people. And we thought, writing a book would be the best way to do that. And in today's modern day world, everybody's busy with jobs and children, and a lot of people feel they don't have time for this kind of thing. So we wanted to write a book that has small things you can do every day that take seconds that will make your life better, or just benefit you in some sort of way.
I see. So I heard you say something about spirituality. So where does this energy thing end and spirituality begin, or are they together, or is this all part of the subject we call metaphysics?
It's all metaphysics, and the energy part is an underlying part, independent in all religions and independent of all religions. The energy part is like gravity. It's there. It's in our lives. It affects everything we're doing. And so in religions, a lot of religions recognize that and help us to bring that into our daily life. One of the problems, not problems, but one of the things we wanted to do was we were using techniques like this to help ourselves. And we wanted to be able to present that to other people so that their lives could become easier too. And one of the format of the whole book is you can read it in any order. You don't have to read it from beginning to end. And everything is like 2 pages long. And even if you don't want to read the 2 pages, there's a little box at the end that says, just do that. Just try this part, just this one part. And each of those can be done within 30 seconds. So just reading the box will take 10 seconds, and doing it will take another couple of seconds. And you'll actually feel what seems like this very ethereal energy. You'll feel a change in the world. That was the idea, how to actually turn this into actual experiences. Because without experiencing it, it becomes very cerebral or almost ununderstandable. Oh, this person did it, but they were special. No, that's not true. You could do it too. Everybody could do this stuff. And so the idea of, well, and I have to study for 20 years, meditating for 20 years. No, that's not true. You don't have to do that. Anybody could do these things really quickly. Matt, why don't you talk about the magic box, which is one of the things that was fantastic that you brought out. I thought that was a really great idea for anyone.
Thank you, Bruce. I'm a writer and I journal a lot.
Okay.
So journaling is therapeutic. It gets energy out onto the page. So one day I was journaling about the person I would like to meet. I was single, living in Norwalk, and I just I'm not an artist like Bruce, so I just drew a stick figure.
Okay.
But all these attributes of the woman that I would like to meet, she's going to be funny and loving and very nice and make me laugh, and everything I pictured that my mate would be. So it wasn't till 10 years later, and for some reason I was flipping back into my journal and I came across that entry. As Bruce was alluding to, I put a little box around it. That felt like I was giving it life.
Oh, I see.
After
and you had done that 10 years before.
10 years before, and when I read that, my jaw dropped because I had just described the woman that I married to a T, every single attribute. So, I called Bruce that evening and told him about this, and we started experiencing.
Aren't you the lucky one, right? I can hear everyone say that. Okay.
So we would start experimenting with other things, such as putting a cup of water onto a piece of paper with the word love written on it, and just placing the water there, and seeing if that water would taste any different 10 minutes later.
Yeah. What did it taste like? Just regular water? Or?
No, it tasted. I don't remember exactly what happened there, but I believe it tasted. It had a sweeter taste. But I'm positive that when you hold the water, I know the other one works too, because that's the basis of Dr. Emoto's work.
Yes.
And so that works also. I think the taste was there. I know the taste was there when you hold the water and talk to it as if it's alive, and then sip it. There's definitely a sweet taste. And so Matt would put these things under his cat's bowl also,
I see.
which helped the cat become stronger.
Oh, I see.
Love
Under the cat food.
under the cat food, and so there were a number of things that, like a simple thing that's in the book is just to keep the thoughts clean for 1 minute. For 1 minute, think of nothing else but something happy and positive. Just 1 minute a day, and see what it feels like. In other words, we're not claiming that you will necessarily feel this, but we're pretty sure you will. And so all of these things are meant to detoxify what has come to be kind of commonplace for a lot of people. Like for example, if I go into the bookstore, one of the things that I used to do was to first of all say, is there a book in the bookstore that benefits me? And then I would go and find it by saying, is it in this aisle or that aisle? Is it on that shelf, this shelf, that page? And I'd eventually come to the book, take the book out, and find a book that way. Okay. Now the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if you go into the bookstore and you play with the kinesiology, you try it, you will see that most books, the presence of that book will weaken you. if I pick Jane Eyre, if I pick that will weaken a person. It turns out that there's not too much in there that'll weaken the person, like maybe 10 pages or something. But there's something in that book so that book holds an energy.
Altogether it was negative.
That whole, putting that, like, for example, near your bedstand, a book, you really want to be conscious of what you put near your bedstand.
I see.
What kind of book? There are very few that come out positive, very few. A Course in Miracles, these two books, because they were made to come out positive.
I see.
All of Hawkins' books, he also tested with kinesiology every page that he wrote, and will actually give you at the back of the book the calibration of every chapter he wrote on 1 to 1,000, whether, you know, and most of them are 700, 900, very, very high calibration. A Course in Miracles is very high. Any book on haiku that has haiku, whether it's talking about it, how to make it.
What is it again?
Haiku, which is Japanese poetry, or poetry that you write in like 20 syllable, 20.
I see.
It's
Short.
small poetry,
Short.
and none of those are ever negative. If I test poetry in general, it's not positive. But if I test haiku, I mean, it's extremely positive.
I see.
So that was one of the things in there, was to go find a book on haiku and just open it, read one poem, and just for 10 seconds feel how that feels. And so these are all things to go and say, try it. We're not saying that, you know, it's going to positively work, but we think that you'll feel better. These are ways that you were going to feel better. Blessing the food was another one. We talked in a previous program about that, and that it could even help with microwaved food, which messes up the atomic bonds in something from a scientific point of view.
But even cooking over fire changes the bonds and changes things chemically. Boiling and cooking change them in different ways.
Something
and microwave also does something
There's something
different.
about the microwave. If the process is somehow is somehow doing something so that the life force of the food becomes affected for some reason.
I see.
The life force gets affected. It's not clear why and why normal cooking. So if I say, you know, cooked food is fantastic. Cooked food, like microwave food is tough. I'm not strong with and I don't believe many people are strong. So we're not saying go live in a monastery and things are going to be, you know, a certain way, but we're saying if we try these things, you'll feel better.
So while we're talking about kinesiology and energy, I came across some folks that can see colors around a person. Is that true? I mean, do you think that's part of this? Is that also energy? What is it?
I believe that's true. I believe some people are gifted. I believe that in the future there will be an instrument where you can put these glasses on and see the energy that we're measuring here in this, what seems like an indirect way. Even though it's indirect, it does work. And so eventually there will be such a thing.
Because it's very difficult for people to believe. And they'd say, hey, I mean, we all know positive thinking is good. We all know negativity is bad. And still we do those things anyway.
There's a form of photography that
Curate.
captures a person's aura.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so there's proof.
And they say, okay, this is your aura, but then again, different people interpret them in different ways.
Some people are gifted with being able to see energy. I don't see energy. I would like to see energy, but I don't see it. But I can sense it. And so some people are very gifted to see all the way into a person's the chakras, into what their energy auras look like. And that to me is a good thing. It's something that to me we're evolving towards. And in some sense, acknowledging the energy that's there, I'm positive that everything that we do with taking a step towards God or the presence gets 10 steps towards us taken. So in other words, we attract much stronger any one step that we take. So if we say that we want to be interested in energy and things that we're not conscious of, that takes a step towards us and actually helps us all the better to do this. There's an idea along these lines where everyone who walks through the path makes the path easier for the next person to walk through. It's called the 100 monkeys effect, where suddenly enough people have walked through the path that the others don't even have to try. They're just given it automatically, and that's a wonderful thing. And so you say, well, why should I bother? Well, because you could make things easier on yourself for the time being until this level of evolution comes about.
What was the other book about? The Gracing of Earth?
The other book was about the gracing of Earth. And that book, I was testing, because you can test things like sugar and things like that, but you could also test more metaphysical things. And so I would test whether it benefits the world if I write another book. It benefits people if I write a book. And it told me yes. And then I counted off, well, how many does it benefit? How many books to write? And it told me 15. Write 15 books. I counted off 15 books. This is the first of the 15. And
which the Gracing of Earth.
The Gracing of Earth.
The first one.
And that was given, and the purpose of it is to get the feeling. Once again, it was along those lines of experiences. It was to get the feeling of what it would feel like to live in an awakened world. That's its purpose, to read the book and to end up with a feeling of how it would be to live in such an awakened world. And there's many reasons for having to write a book like that. One is because it seeds the future. It says if people actually feel that way, and instead of people reading books about war and stuff like that, if they read a book like that, that attracts, just like law of attraction, it attracts that particular future to us on Earth, to our well-being on Earth. It also lets a person just feel good, because there's nothing negative in that book. Absolutely. And there's everything in that book, just as in the book that Matt and I wrote, is a very, very positive book. People told Matt, for example, with this book, that they keep it near them just so they feel calm.
I see.
So that book, that second book, title came from the fact that I had been testing when would be the next major change in my consciousness. And I would normally get a month, 4 weeks, 3 weeks,
yeah.
Something like that. And then all of a sudden, it started converging. It started being 5 days. And I thought, well, that's strange. 5 days, that's pretty good. And then 3 days, 2 days, 1 day. And then it was happening every 1 day was a major change in consciousness.
And what happened that you can recognize?
The things that happened were many. First, let me say that it converged absolutely to zero at September 4th, 2013. September 4th at 5 o'clock, it converged to zero for many of the people on Earth. What happened suddenly was that me and my friends started feeling changes through, we have 7 chakras, 7 major chakras. We were feeling 1 week for each chakra. For example, I never ever get headaches. My friends don't get headaches. We got headaches for 1 week.
Oh, I see.
We had like a chest ache or something off for a week. Sore throat for a week. We had digestive problems for a week. Each of them, and it spanned 7 weeks. And that period, all of my friends were telling me they were having symptoms that they never had before.
And they were all practicing the same kind of kinesiology? Or
they do all kinds of things. Some of them don't do kinesiology at all. Some of them are Reiki masters. Some of them, they do all kinds of different things. Some of them do multiple things.
So they were not necessarily practicing this?
No, because the kinesiology was simply measuring what was happening.
Okay.
But something was happening to Earth, whether we were moving through a photon belt, or I don't know what exactly was happening. I don't know if it was astronomical or spiritual or what, but something happened during that time that's still in effect now, which has been making it so that we are like being upgraded constantly, being constantly upgraded since that period of time. and that that aligns with a lot of the things that have been
So
written.
what happened after the 7 weeks of all these weird aches?
It seemed as though things were better, and my testing, and I actually had a better. There's two ways that I personally determine the energy. One is with the kinesiology, and the second way is what I call an inner voice. And the inner voice is not hearing someone speaking to me in my mind, but being able to hear suddenly a thought appears very strong, and the communication happens through my thoughts. And so this is the way that sometimes I've been hearing what to write. And in the book is actually some of the things that I heard to write would be beneficial not just to me, but to a lot of other people. Whoever read it would be beneficial to them.
see.
And so part of the way of writing that book was actually through that process of just sitting still and waiting for higher self or God or whoever you want to call this larger part of ourselves to talk through myself and to write what they wanted to, what a part of me and us wanted to write.
Yeah, I've heard about similar changes happening in the last couple of years from other practitioners. But then let's wait and see what what happens before we try to bring those also on our show. I've been reading online from astrologers and such. You have another book which has 4 pictures that have been included in your book.
Yes,
and that's how energy appears to you, or
well,
that's how you
how my imagination conceptualizes
Yeah.
it. There's a couple of pictures here that if you buy the ebook form of The Gracing of Earth, these pictures will appear in it. Here's one of the pictures.
So this is ink and watercolor?
This is pen and ink, and also watercolor. Yeah, filled in with watercolor. And
so what are the blue streaks? Those are the energy?
these are the sort of the energy moving through us and around us all the time. Here's what I sense. Here's what I sense a tree is like. This is what I sense a tree is like. It may look like a tree, but it's this way inside internally. And so these pictures are included in the ebook. And so, when even the method of drawing, I use, these two methods to determine what to draw and sometimes what the design and colors are and things like that. I've met other people who are artists who work that way, who actually go put paint over here, go put a blue over there, make the blue darker. When I choose the colors, I actually go across the palette of watercolors and I say, is this the one? And I hear a yes when I get to the right one. And so I pick it, there's like on the watercolor palette, there's 4 different kinds of blues. And so it actually, something internally or with God or something is very clear. It's like not wishy-washy, very clear what it
But
wants.
don't you think certain artists already follow these things, follow their instinct that way, and that's why they have such wonderful use of color on their artwork, and they are
many great writers and artists.
Writers again.
Just
Writers too, yes.
say that they were a channel or a conduit.
Yes.
Something came through them onto the page or onto the
Yes.
canvas.
A lot of times, as much as conventional wisdom says, write about what you know, a lot of times the best writers have written about things that they didn't know about.
Yes.
And they started writing and they started researching and writing, but then the rest of it came to them,
Right.
which is true.
To the whole, what I read was that that's how Harry Potter was created.
Yes.
That the person spontaneously, all of a sudden, was given the entire plot and all the characters and everything in one instant.
Oh, really?
And that's how typically that kind of stuff works. It's like, you suddenly are given the knowing of the whole thing, and then she wrote it all out. This was actually what she said.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's, and other times I know, famous writers write according to what's being, given to them as they write, in the moment, rather than having it given to them like all at once.
Yeah. So you're waiting for
I'm waiting
big
for it to come
ones.
to me.
No, you're a writer. You've written already, so it's come to you, but in smaller doses or
yeah.
packet, waiting for the big one.
Right.
But then it's very interesting to know about this, because this is the first time I heard of when Sandra came to me and said, "Oh, you got to meet Bruce. You should have him on the show."
Well, I'm happy you've invited me, I'll tell you that.
I said, "What? What does he do?" I have no clue what he does. So it's very interesting to hear from you directly as to what kinesiology is. I might still not know enough. Maybe I should read your articles and your books.
Well, on YouTube, there's an enormous number of videos that show different ways of doing kinesiology.
I see.
It's the testing side, and the correction side it can be done many ways, with Reiki or with acupuncture. But to me, the easiest way is to just bring a visualization of light to the situation, or to say simply, "Please bless the situation. Please bless my thoughts. Please bless." That's one of the exercises. Please bless my thoughts.
I tried something what you said just now, but I learned that from a yoga class.
Oh.
In a yoga class, I went for several months, or years actually. And at the end, when you do the savasana, when you're stretched out and just try to relax, that's when they ask you to imagine this light that comes, and then we take the light to every part in the body, wherever
Yes.
it hurts, wherever something is going on, and then we heal ourselves that way. And a lot of times my aches and pains disappeared when I did that. So thank you very much for sharing all this knowledge and this information. Bruce, thank you, and Matt, thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
And hopefully you'll come back again with more books and with more information for our viewers. Thank you. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the series on kinesiology, and I hope you have enough interest to go and explore it further. Thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.